Shalom. Okay, so just a very quick teaching. This is taken from the book Ramchal Daath Tevunath, chapter 2, part 1. And I just wanted to, I really wanted to analyse this verse because it's so messianic, and it came up in the book that I was reading. I've been reading this on Shabbat, Daath Tevunath. It's not the first time I've read it. It's a book by Ramchal, Knowing God's Plan. It's an absolutely wonderful book. But anyway, let's just have a look at this analysis very quickly. So, pure language, Sefer Verura comes to 798, or regular value, and 96 ordinal value, which comes to 894. Very significantly, this is 2 times 447, which is and truth. Okay, so I can't quite remember how many times truth and truth appears, but it appears in very significant places, this and truth, we'emeth. It's one of the 13 attributes of mercy for a start. Chesed, we'emeth, kindness and truth. And usually you find kindness and truth together quite a few times throughout the scriptures. This kindness and truth will appear together. So, for example, in Psalm 85:11, you've got kindness and truth are met together, righteousness and peace have kissed each other. So you can see you've got this concept of kindness and truth together. The first time this and emeth, we'emeth, and truth appears is in Genesis 24:49, and it says, "And now if ye deal kindly and truly," so you've got this concept of kindness and truth together, "with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me that I may return to the right hand or to the left." So this is Eliezer, who went to Lavan to try and find Yitzchak a wife. And then you've got the second occasion is Genesis 47:29, "And the time drew nigh that Israel must die, and he called his son Joseph, and he said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, put, I pray thee, my hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray thee, in Egypt." So, I mean, that's the King James Version. I don't normally go by that version, but this is just part of the search engine that I've looked at. So again, you've got this concept of kindness and truth together, which is very significant. Okay, so if we go back to Ramchal, and this here, we've got pure language is 2 times we'emeth. Okay, and we are trying to find the truth in the lie, regards Moshiah hidden in the husks of like the Christianity, which obscures the truth about Moshiach. Okay, so it's for us, we need to empower our good inclination with the truth in order to overcome our evil inclination. I went through this in the last lesson that I put on, the last video that I did, and that teaching is absolutely brilliant. If you get a chance to go and have a look at it, it's called, let me just find out, The Secret of the End of Days, How to Reveal YHVH and the Mashiach in Truth. Absolutely brilliant. And this, as we can see, is clearly related to that concept of revealing the Mashiach in truth. Okay, so moving on then, what other numbers have we got that tie into that? We've got 798, which is the regular value. So 798 is 2 times 399, and there's a couple of occasions where this significantly comes up too. One, we've got 0.2 there, and in abundant compassion, uv rachamim gadolim. that comes to 399 regularly, and it also comes to 120 ordinarily. So together they come to 519. I might just go into that a little bit more later if I've got time. That 519, we'll see. Might come back to that. Point 3 then. So we've got this. This is an abundant compassion. This is taken from Isaiah 43:5, but it's also mentioned in the book Kol Hator. I took this, and this was analysis that I did on the book Kol Hator. So this is all about the Moshiach ben Yosef, okay, from that book Kol Hator. And that we will be redeemed. The exiles of Israel will be redeemed in abundant compassion. Okay, that's got an ordinal of 120, which is Eliyahu Hanavi. And we know that the ultimate redemption will be Moshiach ben Yosef from Esav. Okay, and that will be through the power of Eliyahu Hanavi to raise up the Moshiah of the generation to the level of Moshiach. Okay, to teach him, to elevate his soul up until he reaches the soul level of Mashiach, and then we can get into final redemption. This is the final Redeemer, and there's a process involved in the Moshiach of a generation attaining the level of Mashiach, and that will be done. That's done through a flow of prophecy that comes via Eliyahu Hanavi. Okay. Come across this concept all the time. Eliyahu Hanavi is the Ravlach, a teacher for you. Moshe basically is reincarnated and is desolate until he is taught by the Ravlach, which is a teacher for you. This comes from teachings that I've done on Arizal. Really, really wonderful teachings that I did on Arizal. I would suggest anybody go and have a look at it. I listened to it again just the other day, and I just thought to myself, this is so good. It's called Arizal is Teachings About Moshiach. Okay, also Arizal is teachings about Mashiach. I think that's the end of it. Yeah, finally decoded it is. Arizal's teachings about Mashiach, finally decoded. It's a really, really wonderful, wonderful teaching, and shows you how Yeshua had the Ravlach for Yeshua was Yochanan the Immerser, John the Baptist. And it just goes through a wonderful sequence of decoding Arizal's teaching on Beth-Hanan to point that Yeshua is absolutely, completely the Mashiach. This particular commentary was on all about Moshe's final reappearance as the Mashiach. Okay, so you can see that Arizal definitely knew that Yeshua was the Mashiach. So go and watch that video. You won't be disappointed. It's absolutely wonderful. Okay, and it's absolutely wonderful, can't be missed. So what have we got next? 399. Oh yeah, we're talking about Eliyahu Hanavi, where we're from point 2. That explains the concept of Eliyahu Hanavi, and it explains who was Yeshua's Eliyahu Hanavi and why Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, has to come again. So all these are very significant. They're pointing very clearly to only one thing, the redemption of Moshiach ben Yosef from the husks of Esav, and that is redemption of our own, an aspect of our own souls, our united souls from the exile of Esav, the exile of our Yetzer Hara. We need to dominate that. How do we dominate over our evil inclination? With the truth. The truth empowers our good inclination to defeat our lower nature, our evil inclination, our inclination to serve ourselves, basically. Right, point 3 then. Welo ish, and not a man. Okay. Okay, so this is very interesting. I think what I will do is I'll actually include the entire. This is not Ramchal that I took this slide from, but I will include the entire slide because it's got lots and lots of references that are linked up to this particular concept that Ramchal has pulled out. Anyway, so on that slide you will see. Let me just put some points on so I know what I'm saying. So on point, where has it gone now? Point 6, and not a man, 348 regularly, 51 ordinarily. 51 is 3 times 17, by the way, so 3 times good, tov, and that also comes to 3 times 133, which is significant. Okay, so that's taken from Psalm 22:6. But I am a worm and not a man, a reproach of man, despised by peoples. Okay, that has got an ordinal value of 316, which is Yeshu. Okay, it's got 225 is the regular total, and 225 is 5 times be'emeth, in truth. So we're very much related to the truth, and not only that, but there's all kinds of things in there. I ain't going to go through that entire screen, but basically this whole concept of the worm is it's related to truth. It's like a code name for truth. When you see the word worm, it's really related to a concept or a code name for truth, because truth comes to 441, and that's 3 times 147, and Shemia, Toloth Ashemia, the Shemia worm comes to 147 ordinarily. So we know there's a connection between truth and this concept of the Shemia worm. And why would a worm? Why is there this connection? Because according to the sages, you're not allowed to build the temple with stones that have been cut by iron. You know, the sound of iron is not to be heard. So, for example, you can't use iron at all to create the stones that you would need to build the temple. So there's this tradition. It's all code names, by the way, but there's a tradition that there is a worm, and the worm cuts through the stone. It's called a Shemia worm. Okay, so this equals 147 ordinarily, which is 147 is 3 times 3 times 170. 147 is 441, which is truth. Okay, so why is this so significant? Because Vilna Gaon pointed out a particular phrase from the Talmud, and he said this is one of the appellations of Mashiach ben Yosef, and it was the wisdom of the sages shall stink. When you analyse that, it very, very clearly points to Yeshua being the Mashiach. Okay, so I'm talking about from memory now, but the regular total comes to 4 times Yeshua. I think it's 1,544, and the ordinal value comes to 212, which is one of the fillings out for Yonah, but it's also 4 times Yeshua ordinally. So you've got this massive connection between this phrase that Vilna Gaon said. I've done teachings of it. The teachings, the wisdom of the sages shall stink, Vilna Gaon. You can listen to that. It goes through it in much more detail. But so basically, there's this appellation called the wisdom of the sages will stink. That is one of the appellations of Mashiach ben Yosef, the 50th one it is. And basically it's taken from Talmud, Sotah 49. And following on from that, it mentions, and the truth will be missing. So in this section in Talmud, it talks about the wisdom of the sages will stink, and then it talks about, and the truth shall be missing. Okay, so there's also a tradition that the Shemia worm, which is the one that cuts the stones to build the temple, is also missing. So I hope now you can start to see the connection. And if not, the connection to me is this: we have got to create shalom bayith within our own bodies. So basically, this is the whole concept. Shalom bayith means peace in the house. There's got to really be peace between husband and wife, male and female, if you like. And this is the whole concept, that we're trying to attain peace between our body and soul. We are trying to subdue our body to the side of holiness through empowering our Yetzer Hatov with the truth in order to subdue our inner Esav. Yaakov is our inner truth. So this is where you get one of the 13 attributes of mercy from Micah 7 is to give truth to Yaakov. To turn, I can't remember how it goes, but it's give truth to Yaakov. So we know that Yaakov, which is our good inclination, has to be empowered by the truth. And Yaakov is synonymous. He's synonymous with truth, if you like. He's synonymous with our good inclination, but he's also synonymous with truth. The truth. The two are very much related. So we've got this missing Shemiah worm. We're told the wisdom of the sage will stink and truth will be missing. And we can see the connection. What is the truth that's missing? The truth that's missing is the revelation that Yeshua is the Moshiach. He's the truth that's missing. And this is why the wisdom of the sages stink. But when you analyse the wisdom of the sages, you can't take it at face value. It reveals very clearly that Yeshua is the Moshiach, because Vilna Gaon said that this particular appellation was connected to the gematria that the Mashiach ben Yosef will reveal. Okay, so we know that from Vilna Gaon, that what is the thing that this particular statement reveals, then, if it's connected to a revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef? What does it reveal? It reveals only one thing, that Yeshua is the Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, what is the truth that's missing? This revelation. It's the letter Ayin that's missing off his name, so that his identity has been erased. But that truth needs to be revealed, and it will be revealed at the end, like what's happening now. The truth about Mashiach is revealed. So there are these occasions, like in Psalm 22:6, I am a worm. It means I am the truth. It's code name for saying I am the truth. Okay, so and that's why it's associated with Eliyahu Hanavi. This is point 1 from this slide that I've got in front of you. I wasn't planning on doing this, but it's relevant because we've got point 6 showing up in Ramchal. So there's a connection there. So I am a worm is 120. That's Eliyahu Hanavi. So Eliyahu Hanavi is the channel, if you like, from above that teaches us the truth about who the Mashiach is. Okay, and he reveals the truth. So this whole concept of the truth. So why is it connected then to the worm that cuts the stone? I didn't quite get to that bit, did I? The worm that cuts the stone that builds the Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple. Okay, and the truth that we're talking about now, empowering our Yetzer Hatov in order to defeat our Yetzer Hara, because you can't beat your body into subjection. You cannot, like, just as Hashem said, you are not allowed to put iron, to hear iron or the sword and things like that to cut the stones, to build the temple. You have to do it without metal, without hearing iron upon the stone. So when we are trying to reach a place of peace between our body and our soul, we can't whip ourselves into submission. We cannot beat our bodies into submitting, through like ascetic lifestyles. And some people, religious extremists, they will fast till the teeth are black, till they give themselves kidney failure. This has happened and does happen. Or people will, the wicked things that people do, even to children, that they feel like that they've got a bad demon or something. I've seen it. It's absolutely horrific. This goes on it's like almost cult mentality. They're trying to submit, beat these people up. And, like in the early Catholic Church, they used to wear belts with nails in them and like tighten the belts with the nails so it pierced the skin so they could, get the flesh to suffer. But, this is not the way. You will never, ever, ever get your evil inclination to subdue to the side of holy except via the power of truth. That revelation of truth is what will submit your body to the side of holiness. Okay, so you need to pursue the truth, and the truth is all about the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef. That's what's hidden, and that what needs to be revealed. That's the whole hidden dimension of the Torah, and it's also the intermediary. I talked about this in the last lesson. This is the intermediary between God and man, between the perfection and oneness of Hashem revealed and this situation that we're living in now of duality, where we're able to perceive good and evil. There's an intermediary between those two stages, i.e. a revelation, what we're living in now, which is basically a concealment of the name YHVH. So we perceive good and evil, and we're rewarded for the good that we do, and we're punished for the evil that we do. But there's an overall system that's actually driving that, and it's God desires to reveal His perfection to us, and He desires to reveal His oneness, His absolute authority, and this is the hidden reality that we're not always aware of. We can't always perceive because we see the good and the evil. We don't see the utter authority and perfection that's orchestrated that whole system of the appearance of good and evil. Okay, but at one point, when we have created vessels that are Yetzirah, that's been subdued to the side of holy, and that we have peace between our body and our soul because it's subjugated to the will of our soul, our good inclination, our inner Yaakov, our inner truth. The truth dominates over the falsehood that's represented by our evil inclination, which is falsehood, fantasy, delusion, fiction. This is what the evil did, the lusts and whatever imaginations prevail. We're wanting to subdue that so that truth prevails, a true perception of reality, a true understanding of the name YHVH. Okay, and then we get what's called shalom. Esav, then, our inner evil inclination is transformed into shalom, which the only vessel which can contain a blessing is a vessel of shalom, peace. Okay, your body is never going to attain peace through being beaten into submission. It will never do that. That's why we have to create true a place of peace, through a revelation of the truth. Okay, a revelation of the truth about the whole purpose of the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef. This is what subdues our body, because the concept of the Moshiach ben Yosef reveals the name YHVH to us. It's a revelation of the absolute authority and sovereignty of YHVH, the absolute oneness. And so this is the intermediary really between this perception of good and evil. Then there's an intermediary stage, like becoming aware of the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef and having to go into exile and suffer with us, and the whole way that Hashem's orchestrated that in his will, and the consequences of it, and Moshiach suffering with us in exile until we defeat all these forces of evil and bring them over to the side of good that needs bringing over to the side of good, and erasing those things like doubt, like Amalek, that need to be completely erased. And through this process, that complete authority and perfection and oneness of the name YHVH is revealed. So that's the intermediary stage. Okay. So the worm that builds the temple, which the temple you can see is like our body is our temple. We're trying to create something that is able to contain the light that YHVH desires to bestow upon us. The temple is a bayit, a house, a vessel. Okay, so that's where we get shalom bayit from, peace in the house, where the spirit of YHVH can dwell. YHVH can dwell in that holy temple that's been built, without iron, with this Shemir worm. It's basically code name for truth. So the truth builds our temple, that is our body, that brings peace between body and soul, and the same truth builds the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, it's all code name for truth. That's why truth is so important. Okay. And there's all kinds of other things that I could go through there. So that's why it's connected to that. If you want to pause and read the rest, then please do. And I'm not going to go, I think I've gone on and spoke about it. I am actually going to do some more teachings on this. So it just so happened that came up. I'd not planned on teaching about this concept of the worm, but there's been a little bit of a digression, and it's always good if you get an opportunity to digress. So anyway, I've gone through that, but I'm not going through the whole of that. If you read it, you'll be able to see some incredible other connections. For example, connected to Isaiah 23:15, this comes up again and again and again. It's an incredible concept. It's an incredible verse that reveals a lot about Mashiach. Okay? So, point 3 then, not a man, which we can see comes from the psalm that we've just put up. I'm not going to put it up here, but that also comes to 3 times 133. We will come back to that particular gematria because it's very important. Okay, it's very important. There's a big connection going on there with this 133. Somebody had put a comment recently on one of my videos, why you're using multiples, doesn't get the significance of a multiple. And I thought about it, and then I thought to myself, well, we're looking for Mashiach ben Yosef, and the word Yosef means again, it means to add to. So it's almost like multiples, and this is how it comes, this is how it's often used, it's added to again. So this is, you can use multiples anyway, but it was just very much connected to the concept, the word Yosef anyway. It means to add to. So, that it's just a nice connection. I can't go in any further. I've not got a lot of time and I want to get through all these, but I thought if they're listening again, the person who left a comment, that's just something else to consider. Multiples are really important. And we get this, even like in the counting of the Omer, it's like multiples of 7. So you get 7 times 7 is 49. You also get, for example, 7 times 7 years. So you get the Shemitah year, which is 7 years, and then 7 lots of 7, you get to the Yovel year. The 50th year is the Yovel year after counting 7 lots of Shemitah years. Things like that. It does come up all the time. 13 attributes of mercy are contained in that are contained in Exodus. It's 13 times 13 letters, 169 letters in the entire 13 attributes of mercy. So there's all kinds of connections between multiples. So that's why I use multiples. Okay, so point 4 then, another 133 comes from heal me Hashem and I will be healed. Okay, so that's an ordinal of 133, 655 regularly, 135 ordinally, 788 in total. Right, point 5 then. We've also got another significant connection between pure language and truth, which we've already pointed out. So pure language comes to 894 in total, and we've already said that's 2 times 477. What else is 477? We've got the first verse in Torah, Bereshith bara Elohim et hashamayim wa et haaretz. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. That's Genesis 1:1. That comes to 298 ordinally, which is 2 lots of 149. We've gone over this concept many times before. 149 is Melech Goyim, King of the nations. So Hashem desires to be King of the nations, not just King over Israel. The nations are represented by Esav. Okay, the 70 nations are represented by Esav, and this is what we have got to subdue in order, we've got to rule over it with the truth. So we need to know what the truth is. The truth is Yeshua is the Moshiach. Okay, so you've got Melech Goyim 149. That's the first words of Torah. Before the eyes of all Israel, le'ene kol Yisrael, are the last words of Torah, also come to 149, so which is also Melech Goyim. So we know that the beginning and end of Torah, the end wedged in the beginning, that's on point 6, that's taken from a book called Sefer Yetzirah, a very ancient Kabbalistic text that's supposed to be written by Abraham. Okay, so it's a very ancient text, and this mentions the concept of the end wedged in the beginning. So there's a continuation. So we've got the end of Torah and wedged in the beginning, and we can even see that numerically. Okay, there's a massive connection. The beginning and end of Torah are very clear that Hashem desires to be king over the nations. So we have to subdue the nations to the side of holy, and the power that does that is the truth, i.e. Yeshua the Mashiach. No other way. Peace, trade in things, nothing. It will be through the truth that Yeshua is the Mashiach. Okay, that's the one thing that will bring peace to the nations. It's the one thing that will bring peace to our body. All this going in and forcing conversions, getting them to submit through threats. Look what they did to the Native Americans. Look what they did to Africa. This is not the way. That's not the truth. The truth is not to be with the sword upon the stone. It's not to be done like that. It's to be done in a way that brings shalom. If they'd have told the truth about Yeshua and acted in truth, like done to those people what Yeshua asked us to do, like love and care and protect and things like that, feed the hungry, clothe the naked. If we'd have shown love and kindness and truth and kindness, like we say, the kindness and the truth is very much linked together, we'd have been a whole lot more successful, and we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in now. But anyway, we departed from the truth, and we took upon ourselves some kind of I don't know what it was, but Greco-Roman interpretation of this truth that resulted, Esav lives by the sword and he dies by the sword. This is what he was blessed with, that you will live by the sword. But we know that Yeshua finished off that statement because he said when he was going to be arrested, put away your sword. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. This is talking about the concept of those people whose evil inclination dominates over them, and they take up arms in order to sort out their problems. They take up guns, they take up swords and arrows and war, and they expect the evil shepherds that dominate expect you to battle for them. Okay, this is not the truth that Yeshua came and showed us. The truth is very much related to kindness, as we've seen. And that's the way forward. And that's how nations will be subdued, through truth. And attached to kindness, a revelation of kindness, that people know, that Hashem loves the nations. He loves all humanity. He's got a plan for them to serve him, not to be beaten into submission. That's a lie. So the whole truth is not this. The truth is to bring shalom, true peace to people, in a good way. And when we talk the truth, this is ultimately the pure language. So when we're talking about the truth, the true gospel, the true good news, this is the pure language, and in accordance with Torah, not just some made up rubbish to suit Christmas and Easter. That's not the gospel. That's not the truth. That's the lies. That's the lies. That's spreading lies throughout the whole world, not the truth. It is send the truth. There was a Jewish man, and he kept the Jewish festivals, and he kept Shabbat, and he kept kosher. And if we want to be like him, then we have to imitate him. Okay? And this is the pure language that will unite us. The truth about who the Moshiach is, and the truth about the Torah. Okay, the will of Hashem revealed to us. Point 9 then, Shafar, language, equals 385 plus 43 ordinally. Okay, this is Esav ordinally. So this pure language is what will subdue Esav, the truth. Because if you go all guns blazing, your body goes into panic mode. Wars and threats and things like that. Oh yeah, you'll get people to do what you want them to do, but under absolute fear, and eventually they will rebel. They're not subdued people. People their bodies are still in control, not their souls. They are afraid. They'll do what you say because they're afraid. That's survival mode. That's not you having shalom. That's not your body and your soul being as one. And that's ruling by fear. That's evil shepherd mentality. That's Edomite mentality. That's Greco-Roman mindset mentality. It's just ruling by fear. Got to rule by truth, dominate by truth. Got to dominate Esav with the truth, not with the sword. He is the one that tries to rule by the sword, and that's why the Christianity and Christian countries, dominated countries, have so much bloodshed and wars to their name, because they're really not spreading the truth. They're spreading it in the context of an Edomite exile, through the lies of Edom, through a body that's not been subdued to the truth. So they still take up the sword. They're still deluded completely and utterly, because they're not living, or the gospel is not within the right context, which is Torah. The context of this gospel should have been attached to Torah, but it wasn't. It was separated from the truth of Torah, so it's become a lie. And this lie is what's gone out in the world, and that's why we're living in a world where there is no peace. There is no people properly serving YHVH, and the world is full of evil shepherds that rule instead for their own selfish purposes. Okay, so we've also got 385, which is 5 times 77, and 77 is Yonah spelt out. That's one of them. And Yonah, we've seen, is a symbol of peace. It's the dove. So we know we need this power to bring peace. And Yonah Yonah regularly is 71. So that's the 70 nations plus the one Israel. That's unity between them both. Okay, the truth brings peace between Esav and Yonah. Okay, so I mean the truth brings peace between Esav, and so does Yonah. This is a power as well that is used, to bring peace to Esav. Okay, we've seen quite a few connections between Esav and Yonah before. Okay, so the word shalom, we've got that language, 385 plus 43 coming to 428. So point 11 then, shalom, which is what we're trying to attain, is 376. 376 is the regular for Asaph. We've pointed this out before. And then 52, which is the ordinal for Moshiach, and the ordinal for Eliyahu, Elijah, and the ordinal for son, all come to 52, and it's 2 times Yod He Vav He. It's 4 times 13, Echad, oneness. So there's a lot there. That's what we're trying to attain. Trying to attain a revelation of the oneness of the name Yod He Vav He, and this occurs via the Mashiach. Okay? The truth about the Mashiach, and this subdues Asaph, this subdues our inner inclination to evil, it subdues our inner nations, and that is the macrocosm, and that is the microcosm, and it happens on a macrocosmic level as well. So what happens in our lives? We subdue our bodies, we have complete faith in the name Yod He Vav He. We know everything happens for good because our good inclination dominates over our evil inclination. So when something happens, we don't just go into panic, stress, depression mode. We have shalom. Okay, it's a shame for good. There's nothing to worry about. There's things happening in this world. Yes, very distressing. All this coronavirus, all this corruption, all these big changes to everybody's life. We've nothing to worry about. Because there's a reason for this. It has to happen in order for the oneness of Yod He Vav He to be finally revealed. Okay, so this is a process. Before that, we've got to go through the footsteps of Moshiach, and some of those are quite challenging, okay, for all humanity. Right, so point 11 then, 428, which is exactly the same for language, is 4 times 107. 7 times 107 is Yeshua Mashiach, spelt out regularly. Okay, and that comes to 749 also. It comes to 110 ordinarily, but 749 regularly. Right, point 12, berura, clear and pure, that means. So pure, clear language. This is why we've got to aim for absolute clarity. Absolute clarity. Okay, as much as we're able to, truth, and you can't be wishy-washy. You've got to fire your arrows and hit the target absolutely dead straight on centre. That's the level of clarity that we need, a pure language. This is also connected to the Hebrew language, by the way. This cannot be avoided because I think it's a verse that precedes this, is the only verse in the entire Tanach with all the letters of the alphabet in, including the 5 sofit letters. So there's some letters in the alphabet that change if they're on the end. The Chaf is one, the Mem is one, the Nun is one, the Tzadi is one, and the Pe is one. They all change. So they've got what's called a sofit form. So in total there's 27 letters, and that's the only verse, the one prior to this. Because why? Because the Hebrew language transmits the truth to us much clearer than any translation ever could. We need to know the language. If we want to know the truth, we need to know Hebrew. It's all connected. This is the pure language that we've got to be able to speak. We've got to be able to speak Hebraically, not with a Greco-Roman mindset, not with an Erev Rav mindset that's fueled by the imagination of believing that the stories in the Talmud are to be taken at face value, which is as fictional as Christmas and Easter within Christianity. This is Greco-Roman mindset. This is not a Hebraic mindset. This is not Torah. This is Torah in exile. So we've got to not only attach ourselves to the Hebrew language and immerse ourselves into that as the truth, we've also got to think Hebraically. It's when it's all right talking the language, but if you aren't thinking in a Hebraic way, because you have been corrupted by Erev Rav mindset or Greco-Roman mindset, the Western mindset, then you're not going to be able to. It's not the truth. It's simply not the truth. It's the way our mind functions in a clear Hebraic way. Okay? As a result of being exposed to the truth of the Hebraic language and what is written in the Torah, but not the Torah in exile. In the Erev Rav mindset and the Erev Rav influences which dominate every single yeshiva in this world at this time and every synagogue. It's dominated by Erev Rav. Every single one. There will be very, very, very few people that have escaped the Erev Rav influence, just as there's very, very, very few people that have escaped the Edomite Greco-Roman mindset of Christianity, or the Ishmaelite mindset of Islam. This is something other than Hebraic mindset. Okay, and that's what we've got to restore to. So 13, that's what we got to now. Berura comes to 413 regularly. 53 is the ordinal, and that's Yeshua. Okay, so we've got to have clarity regards Yeshua. That comes to 466 in total. 466 this is a word used by Rashi that says that all the power is gone, basically, and before Moshiach is come, we brought to a very low, degraded place. We're very low, degraded, and that's the situation we're in now. We are so overwhelmed by the power of our Yetzer Hara. We are brought as low can be. Okay, this is Shifla Ma'od. And it comes to 415 plus 51, and 51 is 3 times 17. So there is something good in this whole concept of being brought low. There's a good involved in that, and together they come to 466 regularly. And 79, that's regularly, and 79 ordinarily. Okay, so my mistake, I've just checked it. The Shifla comes to 466, which is very low. It's low. Shifla is low, degraded, and Me'od is very. Okay. And that comes to 545. 545 is the regular of, and there were clouds and darkness. So this is the whole concept of, this is the clouds and darkness. It says, and he came between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel, and there were the cloud and the darkness, and it illuminated the night, and one did not draw near the other all night long. Okay, so there's a connection there, isn't there? They were brought very low at this point. They had to go back, didn't they, to the place of the Egyptian god. I can't remember, Peor. Can't quite remember the name of it now. But anyway, I'll probably put it up. But it was the name of the Egyptian god, and they had to come back in order, and this was a state that preceded the actual redemption, isn't it? So they were brought very low as well at this point. They were quite frightened. There were the Red Sea in front, the Sea of Reeds, in front of them, and the Egyptians behind them, and this just preceded the redemption through passing through the Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds. So they were brought to this very low place. It says, speak to the children of Israel and let them turn back and encamp in front of Pi Hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, in front of Baal Zephon. You shall encamp opposite by the sea. So Baal Zephon is That's one of the Egyptian deities. And this was this was supposedly to mislead the Egyptians, to thinking that their deity was powerful, this Baal Zephon. Okay, so just about, I thought I'd been pointed that. So they was absolutely terrified. They knew that they was trapped, and they were brought very low at this point. So there is a relation between that. Just wanted to point it out because it's quite interesting. Okay, and then we've got that final, this is really to do with 399. So this is a pure language, is the regular comes to 798, this is point 1 now, which 798, the end of point 1 is written 2 times 399. So here we've got this verse right at the bottom text box. And the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire atop the mountain before the eyes of the children of Israel. That comes to 2,568, which is 24 times 107, and 107 times 7 is Yeshua Moshiach. So there is a relationship there. It comes to 399 ordinarily, and there's loads of reference to Yeshua in there. Consuming fire comes to 772, which is 2 times Yeshua, for example. And that first word, were more, is exactly the gematria for Ravlach, and it's also contained in the Ezekiel's prophecy. It's written differently. It's written Hamor-ah in Deuteronomy 34:12. I'm pretty sure it talks about Hamor-ah. It means awesome. And this is and the whole section of that verse comes to 386, which is also Yeshua. And I've done an analysis on that particular word because it's exactly the same numerical value as Ravlach that Arizal also mentioned in his commentary on Behat Hanan, and I've already talked about that. The Ravlach is the teacher for you, the teacher for Moshiah to bring him up to the level of Mashiach, and the teacher for Yeshua was Yochanan the Immerser, John the Baptist. Okay, and that's the word there that's linked to that, because it's exactly the same letters and it's exactly the same gematria. I think it's 252, if I'm right. Yeah, 252, Ravlach. So that comes to that. So it's all connected. This is all connected to revelation of Yeshua, basically. Right, just a few more things to look at. I'm going to look at this quite quickly. The total, all right, another section. To worship him with one accord comes to 485. 98 ordinarily comes to 681 in total. 681 is 3 times 227. So we're going to look at all these three numbers now. Right, point 2, the sun, Hamor Gadol Hayom. This is a description of the Me'oroth, which is spelled defectively in the Torah. There's 2 missing vavs. I've gone through this a lot in the teachings. There's 2 missing vavs, so it comes to 646. I think it should come to 658. 658 is exactly the same gematria as Nekmath, as in Nechmath Dam from Psalm 79:9. I'm talking from memory now, but I've gone over this in a teaching, Make Yourself a Serpent. Okay, Nechmath Dam is revenge for the blood of the servants that has been spilled. It's all connected to the fact that Yeshua is Mashiach. Obviously, it is the primary blood that's been spilled, but we're talking about all the people who've laid down their lives, to sanctify the name YHVH, and there's been many, and that includes Jews, and that includes believers in Yeshua, and that to some degree includes even Muslims who have been faithful. They're subject to a lie, just the same as the Jewish people are subject to a lie, just the same as the Christians are subject to the lie. Okay, but we are talking about the God of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov here. In all 3 religions, it's just that there's 3 different husks that are hiding the truth. One's like a Yishmaelite husk. The nation, we're in exile, so the outer husks dominate. Okay, so Yishmael is subject to one particular husk. the Christians are subject to another particular husk, and the Edomites, the Jewish people are subject to a particular husk called Erev Rav, which means a mixed multitude that came out of Yisrael. So the lights are diminished. The light of the sun is diminished, i.e. Mashiach ben Yosef, because that's what it symbolises. So Mashiach ben Yosef is greatly diminished, and the moon is diminished. That symbolises Mashiach ben David. Okay. It comes to 355. The sun, it's referring to the sun. It's Hamaor Hagadol Hayam. Basically, what I was trying to say is 658, which is the luminary, is how they should be spelled, comes to the same as Nechmath, as in Nechmath Dam. So when the servant's blood is avenged, we'll get to see the light of the sun, and the light of the moon at their full glory. They're diminished now. They're in a diminished state. But when all the truth about Mashiach ben Yosef, hidden and suffering in exile, in order to bring us to a place where we can dominate over the nations, our evil inclinations, and subdue them to our inner Yaakov, which is represented in the macrocosm as the nation subdued to the nation of Yisrael. Okay? So when that blood is finally avenged, all the spilt blood, predominantly of Yeshua, by the way, and it's very clear that is indicated that it's Yeshua, because the word spilt it's all connected to the value of Yeshua anyway, and it's also connected back to the curse of Eve and the serpent. Okay, you will crush his head and he will bite your heel. Both of those words for crush and bite have contained the letters Shin, Pe and Vav, which come to 386, which is Yeshua. And the word for spilled also contains those three same letters, Shin, Pe, Vav, and that also comes to 386, which is Yeshua. So he is the absolute predominant blood that will need to be avenged for, and when it is, and hopefully in a merciful way, through revealing the truth, that is enough to avenge for his blood. Okay, a revelation of the truth about what he has accomplished for all humanity through his blood that was spilled, and the consequent suffering that he is endured in exile, suffering for all of us. And yet we are all partaking of that suffering in our own lives. Okay, so 130 ordinarily, which is ayin, the missing letter ayin, and that's also 97. 485 is 97 times 5, and 97 is Asaph spelt out. 970, which is the next point down. I'll just have to change it so it's all in order. Just wait. Oh, it's gone completely out. So point 3, that's Yeshu spelt out. That comes to 970, which is 2 times 485. Okay, so we know the sun in its diminished state. What we've got now is Mashiach ben Yosef, which is Yeshu, his name erased. Okay, the ordinal of Asaph spelt out was 97. We've got that there. We've already got it up the top. That's point 4. And also we've got now, going back to point 1, we've got the overall total, 485 plus 98 is 681. 681, we see reference there to Yonah being swallowed by the whale. This is the whole concept of the Mashiach going into the husks, and plus the ordinal of that is 156. This is point 5, which is Yosef. It was Yosef that has gone into the belly of the whale, which is symbolised the Edomite exile. Okay, so once we understand all these concepts, and where we will worship him with one accord, because we will know Mashiach ben Yosef is the force that unites all humanity, body and soul together. It's the truth, okay, that unites the whole of them, brings shalom, ultimately brings shalom, because we didn't deserve for this. We didn't deserve it. It's a sheer act of grace. And that spirit of grace also, to know that You know, Hashem acted above the letter of the law in a way with Mashiach ben Yosef, and that's what grace is about. Really, it exceeds the letter of the law. You know, it's just a gracious gift, if you like. It's not to do with merit. It's not to do with reward or punishment. It's just given as a matter of grace, totally above the letter of the law. And that is exactly where Yeshua came from. He came from the tip of the Yud, which is above the letter of the law. It's a level of mercy that's above the letter of the law. Okay, and by grace we receive that level of mercy. Okay, so point 6, the smallest will become 1,000. That's from Isaiah 60:22. This is an appellation of Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, so this is connected to the 999 that then becomes 1,000 from above. The concept of the 999 footsteps of Mashiach, which we're in at this time. But once we've completed those, we will, by grace from above, receive a revelation of Mashiach ben David. Okay, and that will take us up to the 1,000. So that comes 335 regular and 119 ordinarily, which is 454, which is 2 times 227. Okay, the top one, to worship him with one accord, is 681, which is 3 times 227. So there is a connection there between Mashiach ben Yosef and to worship him with one accord. Mashiach ben Yosef is the intermediary that takes us to that place where we're able to worship him with one accord. He's the transition between the system of good and evil and the system of the perfection and oneness. Is a transition between concealment and revelation of the name YHVH. The bridge that you need to cross is understanding who Moshiach is. You won't get from a place of concealment to revelation without crossing that bridge, without understanding the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef, suffering in the husks. Okay? He's the intermediary between this system that we're in now, where Hashem's name is concealed, this time frame that we're in now, which is a time frame of the 6,000 years of creation, until we get to the 7th millennium, the one where we can rest, our Shabbat, the 1,000 years of rest. We're in the 6,000 years that precede that. Okay, time is nearly up, but we're still in that time period of the 6,000 years. Where was I? Okay, because we're repairing the damage. That's what we're doing. So, point 7, repair of the world in the Malkuth of Shaddai. This is another appellation. It's from the Elenu prayer, this. This is another appellation, according to Vilna Gaon, of the Mashiach ben Yosef. So, he's the intermediary. What is he doing suffering in the hosts is helping us to repair the world in the Malkuth of Shaddai. Okay, Malkuth means kingdom. And Shaddai is, El Shaddai is where we get the 999 footsteps from. So El Shaddai spelled out is 999. So this is all concept of footsteps of Mashiach is connected to El Shaddai. Why? Because Mashiach ben Yosef is completing this particular statement, the repair of the world in the Malchut of Shaddai. He is the force of Mashiach ben Yosef suffering in the husks with us is what is causing the tikkun of the world, is bringing the repair, subduing Esav to the side of holy. This is the repair that ultimately needs doing, bringing all this chaos into the vessels of tikkun. The vessels of tikkun represent the vessels of Yaakov. The lights of chaos represent Esav. We need to subdue those by bringing them into the vessels of tikkun. We need to subdue all the passion and drive and all the desire to take up the sword and take up arms that are in Esav goes as our egotistical, self-serving nature. We've got to subdue that and bring it to the side where instead of just going crazy, creating wars and serving himself and one thing and another, is serving Hashem. Serving the name of Hashem, and all that energy and all that drive is utilised for good. Okay, so 227, that's an ordinal of 227, and that's where we've got the connection up to worshipping with one accord. We will accomplish that once the repair of the world in Malkuth of Shaddai is complete, and that it will be completed by Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, that comes to a regular of 1741, and 1741 is Moshiach ben David, this is point 8, Moshiach ben Yosef, and Moshiach ben Ephraim. If you add them all up, they come to 1741. The concepts of the Redeemers are one. Okay? They cannot be separated. And that's an important point to remember. And the Elenu prayer highlights this very clearly. The Elenu prayer is absolutely glorious. You know, the Elenu prayer is glorious prayer. You know, it's all about, it's just so wonderful. Everything about it's wonderful. It's about, you know, the nations, even the wicked will turn. You know, every tongue will bow, every tongue will confess, every knee will bow. You know, it's wonderful. That's what the vision that is. We should have that vision before us always. Right, the 133 that I said we would come back to, I feel like, this comes from the 339. I don't think I've got this on the right page, have I? Possibly not. But anyway, alright, so we have, to worshipping with one accord comes to 98. This has got another connection though. This has got another connection at another place. So the regular of to worshipping with one accord comes to Segula. Segula is the woman who helped Moshe to find the bones of Yosef. Okay, and 399, which we've already gone over the word 399, haven't we? And 133 in the first. Pure language comes to 798, which is 2 times 399, or 6 times 133. Okay, so there's a connection between the pure language and Segula. Why? Because Segula is part of the process of revealing Moshiach ben Yosef. You know, plus Segula's got an ordinal of 35, which is the same ordinal of Yonah. Right, then we've got finally this verse, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and it was evening and it was morning, one day. And that also comes from an ordinal of 485. So really, you know, there's a connection there. It's like saying this whole concept of one day, but you've got the darkness and then you've got the light. We're in the process of transforming that darkness into light. That's our job. We don't get given a portion of light. How we will receive the light in the end is because we will have battled with all the darkness and transformed it into light. You know, so this darkness really represents our evil lower natures, and we've got to unite those as one, just as the night and the day are united as one, the sun and the moon as one, male and female as one, Yod-Heh with Vav-Heh as one. You know, it's all about unity. And that word there, echad, means oneness. That's the place where we're ultimately getting to. So obviously there's a process involved, and that process involves a revelation of Moshiach ben Yosef, and that process also involves a domination of our Yetz HaTov, empowered by truth about who the Mashiach is, to subdue our Yetz Hara, our evil inclination, which is synonymous with the nations, which is synonymous with Esav. Okay, one other quick point. If we go, these are the two stages of redemption. The first redemption is called Pekuda. Okay, that's got an ordinal of 45. That's point 1. Okay, it's got, I've gone through this before. You can pause it and read it. It's all connected to Yeshua, filling out of Yeshua. Zikira, remembrance, which is point 5, comes to 53, which is Yeshua. Okay, so we've got Adam and Yeshua, who is the last Adam, who is the rectification for Adam. United together they are. So point 8, remembrance is the second redemption. Who we were to remember? We're to remember Joseph. He's been forgotten for 2,000 years, just as Joseph was forgotten for 2 years in the pit, in the prison. Yeshua's been forgotten for 2,000 years. We've got to remember him. And Segula is a force. Segula, who's also called Serach, she is part of that force to remember him, united with Moshiah. So 45 plus 53 come to Segula. Okay. Which is all absolutely glorious stuff. Right, let's see if we've got any more. Right, just a little bit more then. 472, the total for this, the ordinal total, comes to the initial letters that spell Me'esav. So we've got who has ascended into heaven and descending. I've gone over this first loads. It comes to 153 ordinally, which are the 153 fishes in the dragnet that Yeshua appeared to his disciples and said, throw your fish, your net over the right side of the boat. They've not caught any fish. They caught 153 fish. It's code name, right? 153 is the triangular number for 17. So this is Hatov. He was giving him a code saying, I'm going down into Esav now. Who has ascended and descended? So he'd ascended. It was after his death, and then he was descending into the Edomite exile. And then he will need buying back from there. Pidyon Nefesh, his soul will need redeeming from Esav, Me'esav. So Me'esav is 416 regularly, which is 2 times Yitzhak. And Yeshua came instead of Yitzhak, Tachath Bano, instead of his son. This is Tachath Bano, means instead of his son, instead of Yitzhak. And this, according to Yachol Shimoni, is Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, not a ram. So he came instead of Yitzhak. And then that Me'esav comes to 56. And 56 is the ordinal for Teshuvah. So we know we've got to return him from Esav. Okay, that comes to 472 in total, that Me'esav. The other initial letters, so the who is Mem Yod. So instead of highlighting the Mem, if you highlight the Yod, it will spell Yeshua. Yod, there's Yod Shin Ayin Vav. Yeshua, or Yod Shin Vav. It's not spelled in order, but it spells Yeshua. The letters would be Yeshua. It's Yeshua who needs to be redeemed from Esav, through a Pidyon Nefesh, and the man that's organising that is Ariel Cohen Olaro. He's the only person that is an Orthodox Jewish man, he's a Cohen, and he is going through a process of raising funds to complete a Pidyon Nefesh with one of the top rabbis in this world at this time. Okay, that together, the 56 comes to 472, which is 4 times 118. Just in case you weren't sure, that's 4 times Yeshua filled out. We need to get Yeshua back from Esav. Okay, so it's also, for then I will convert the people to a pure language. That comes to an ordinal of an ordinal and a regular together of 1,357. That's highlighted in green. And then that's also the same as the regular for at the end of 70 years it shall fare with Tyre. And this is pointed out in the Talmud as being very significant and a verse that relates to Mashiach. I've done a full analysis of that. It definitely and absolutely points to Yeshua being the Mashiach. Okay, it's from Isaiah 23:15, I think. Okay, so point 4 then, to worship him with one accord, comes to 485. We've already gone through this, and that also comes to 98. We've already gone through that, Segula. That comes to 681. Just one more very important thing that comes to 681. Sha'ar Hanun, the 50th gate of understanding, is also 681. So when we go through all those processes that are necessary that we talked about, acquiring the truth, the knowledge of Mashiach ben Yosef, passing through that intermediary, we come to we hit a revelation called the 50th gate of understanding. This is a face-to-face revelation with the name YHVH. Okay, and then 681 is also connected to this verse, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and the faith of the girdle of his loins. That 1417 is connected to Sarach. I might put the number up with that, so that's definitely connected to this concept of Sarach Bath Asher, who is Segula. Sarach Bath Asher is the only person mentioned going into the Exodus and the only person mentioned coming out, and she was the person that helped Moshiah to find the bones of Joseph. Okay, so that comes to 1411 regular, 270 ordinarily. Okay, which is the same as Ra, evil. We're trying to subdue our evil. Okay, and then get out of exile when we do. Redemption is when we've subdued Asaph. That's what redemption looks like. Once Asaph's subdued in peace, because of the power of the good inclination that's empowered with truth, there's no more exile. Okay. So 1418 is 83 times 17. That's Hanukkah times good. And Hanukkah is a very powerful festival. It's even mentioned in the New Testament, the festival of dedication. It's very, very significant in revealing who Moshiach ben Yosef is. Okay, there's lots of concepts regards Hanukkah, the dreidel for one, that reveal the truth about Moshiach. Okay, so together 1411 plus 270 comes to 1681. So we can see that the 1000 is Moshiach ben David plus Moshiach ben Yosef, and then we've got the 681, which is to worshipping in one accord, which is also the 50th gate of understanding, Sha'ar Hanun. Okay, and I think I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Okay then, I hope you've enjoyed it. Shalom.